What happened moments before a shooter tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump?
We can't allow this violence to be normalized.
Calls for unity after the shooting.
I could see that he just say, I'm still here.
We hear from a San Diego man who was just 10 yards away from the stage.
Moments ago, the director of the Secret Service said that the agency will be investigating and will participate fully in an independent review after the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Thanks for joining us at 6 a.m. I'm Chris Groh.
And I'm Neda Iranpour. Glad you're with us here. Trump survived, but one person was killed, 2 others hurt. Law enforcement officers are searching for the motive of the suspect who was killed. CBS News' Sabrina Franza joining us live from Milwaukee with the very latest. Sabrina.
The FBI says there are no known articulated threats against the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee or against anyone coming to the RNC over the next 4 days. But all of this happening under the umbrella in the shadow of an investigation, a meticulous investigation into an attempted assassination of the former President Donald Trump and presumptive Republican nominee. There's a heavy security presence in Milwaukee as the Republican National Convention begins later today.
I feel pretty safe.
The U.S. Secret Service says it's keeping its security plan as is. Just 2 days after a gunman opened fire at former President Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
We have accounted for various security scenarios that may arise, and we are confident in the plan we have implemented.
Former President Donald Trump arrived here in Milwaukee yesterday. In a newspaper interview, he said he plans to change his speech later in the week in light of the shooting. Trump also said had he not looked away from the crowd at the moment of the shooting, he may have been killed. During an Oval Office address, President Biden said he had a brief phone conversation with Trump after the shooting.
We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down.
Authorities say the gunman, identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, was killed by a U.S. Secret Service sniper. Investigators say an AR-style rifle found near his body was purchased legally and registered to his father, and that bomb materials were found in his home and vehicle.
We had graduated with him, and it was just something I would have never seen coming.
President Biden has ordered an independent review of the incident. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an assassination attempt and potential domestic terrorism. Here at the convention, some 2,400 delegates are expected to get together today from all across the country on this first day of the convention to officially nominate the former president for the 3rd time as the Republican nominee in a roll call vote. Sabrina Franza in Milwaukee, back to you.
All right, Sabrina, thank you for that. And now we have just learned a local law enforcement officer climbed to the roof and found the shooter. The Associated Press saying the shooter pointed the rifle at the officer, who retreated then down the ladder. The gunman then fired towards Trump. Some attendees at the rally say they saw the gunman prior to the shooting and tried to alert officers. Here's what else we know about the shooter. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks graduated from high school in 2022. He registered as a Republican 1 week after turning 18, but previously made a $15 donation to a Democratic-aligned group. A law enforcement source telling CBS News Crooks was wearing a shirt from a gun-related YouTube channel during the shooting. Former classmates say Crooks was a nice kid and was a good student, beloved by some teachers, but was a loner who was bullied, they said. He worked at a nursing home. In May, he graduated with an associate's degree in engineering and science. Right now, the FBI is working to gain access to Crooks's cell phone and its contents.
And take a look here, just behind us right now. The New York Times photographer Doug Mills actually captured this photograph that's been going around social media. You can see right there that line. That is believed to be the bullet that whizzed past the former president's head and pierced his ear. Now take a look at your screen. We'll show it in full right here. Mills was in the front row, feet away from Trump. But it wasn't until much later, after he sent the photos to his editor, did he realize what one of his images captured.
I never once thought it would happen right in front of me. And I really didn't know that I had that picture into one of the editors after I sent all the first pictures. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I got a text back saying, you won't believe what's on one of your images.
He says when it happened, all he could hear is screaming and Secret Service yelling at him to get down. And this morning, we are learning more about the 3 men shot at the rally. The man killed was a former retired fire chief from a town in Buffalo Township, Pennsylvania. 55-year-old Corey Compatore was killed trying to shield his young daughters from the gunfire. An emergency room doctor tried to save him.
I looked up to see his family, who had witnessed my efforts at resuscitation, and the look on their faces said it all.
Comparatore's wife, Helen, wrote her husband, quote, died the hero he always was. He would have it no other way. On Truth Social, former President Trump wrote, quote, we pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. President Joe Biden also said in his address that they extend the deepest condolences to the family of the victims. The 2 other men are in stable condition. And this morning, we are hearing from a San Diego man who was at former President Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania this weekend.
CBS 8's Regina Yurita joining us live now in studio to share his experience. Good morning, Regina.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We spoke with a man who's from Mountain View and is a California delegate. Blake Marnell has been to nearly 40 Trump rallies around the nation. This past Saturday, he attended the Pennsylvania rally. Marnell was just 10 yards from the former president when the gunfire rang out.
I hear a second set of noises. And that's when it clicked to me, this is gunfire. This is actually happening. This is not a prank. This is not firecrackers on the ground. This is gunfire. It's an assassination attempt.
Second and third round of noises, Marnell ducked. At the same time, he immediately saw the Secret Service jump into action on stage. He witnessed how they were trying to immediately get Donald Trump off of stage. But it's the first moments of the former president standing up after ducking is what shocked Marnell. It's an image that our entire nation has seen. His ear after being grazed by the bullet.
I saw the president standing up, and I could see the blood on the top of his ear. You know, I could tell that it wasn't coming from like inside of his ear. I could tell it was a cut at the top. I could see that he just saying, I'm still here. You know, shaking his fist.
Now, we also asked him if he has any concerns going to the convention this week. He says this has not changed his mind in attending. He believes the event's organizers and law enforcement are taking additional steps to make it as safe as possible. Now, in the next half hour, we'll hear more sound of what he told us and how he believes Donald Trump showed strength in those moments. Guys?
All right, Regina, thank you for that. A local security expert says at these types of rallies, a potential attacker would not even have to enter the event.
There's a perimeter and there's buildings all around potentially. If this is in an urban environment, I don't know much about the environment that it was in, but there's any number of buildings or other, adjacent venues that it could have been in. This person could have been from anywhere.
While many believe the shooting was a security failure, that expert thinks Secret Service did their job.
You can't stop every attempt at violence, every attempt at anything. And I would say that they succeeded today, right? The president is okay.
Meantime, Governor Gavin Newsom saying this. California did send 61 law enforcement officers to Wisconsin, this to support security at the Republican National Convention. And he says the request for officers that had been planned since May. The governor saying in part, quote, public safety transcends party lines. California is proud to support our law enforcement colleagues in Wisconsin during this important political event. Later on in this hour here, political analyst Wendy Patrick will be joining us to talk about what the shooting means for the election. Stay with CBS 8 for the very latest on the investigation. You can also go to our website and our social media pages.
All right, well, time now is 6:09, and Evan, obviously, probably not as warm as we've been experiencing it here in the past, which is a little bit, we all sort of have a sigh of relief.
Yeah,
huh?
exactly. I mean, it's still warm by all means, but it's just not as hot as it once was. So we have seen all of our heat-related alerts expire. One thing that we did have last night was a flash flood warning over the mountains, and that was because of a quick-moving microburst that came through across Mount Laguna mainly. It pushed into Anza Borrego after that, but that brought over an inch of rain, almost 2 inches of rain to Mount Laguna over the weekend, and that is because we're watching as monsoonal moisture is our primary threat right now. Along the coast, inland, we also have the marine layer clouds, unsurprisingly, as we have for many of the past mornings. Along the coast as well, we now have a beach hazard statement. So this is going to be in effect Tuesday through Thursday. 4 to 6 foot waves, sets of 7-footers out there. Check in with a lifeguard if you're not an experienced surfer or swimmer. We, last week, had been checking in on this wider picture across most of the U.S. and had talked about how almost the entirety of the western U.S. was covered in heat-related alerts. They've now since expired. Some spots still working with a couple red flag warnings. You move off to the east of us and across areas like Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas. You've got all those heat-related alerts because that center of high pressure has now moved off to the east of us. So now they've got the heat and we are left with the more mild conditions. It's not going to last for too long. End of this week, we've got a return to that heat. Out the door right now, mainly 60s, 68 for Oceanside, 63 for Ramona, and 62 for Alpine. But take a look at this 10-day trend. Again, between now and about Thursday, we're pretty mild overall. And then we see those 80s come back into play, especially as you look off toward your western valleys. Average would be 75. So we're not going to be left in the clear for too long. We've still got the potential for a few mountain showers and thunderstorms today. And then by the end of this week, we'll see that heat come back. Let's talk about traffic. 6:11 right now. So far, quiet start to the morning. No major crashes or collisions on our major freeways, according to CHP. We can also check in this morning on what our border wait times look like out the door. A 90-minute wait at the San Ysidro Port of Entry. Otay Mesa Port of Entry is going to take you about 70 minutes to get across. So just a bit quicker at the Otay Mesa Port, an hour and a half at San Ysidro. Back to you, too.